From Rich Alvarez in Northern California, this is Video Game Fights. And now your host, Rich Alvarez.
Hello, and I am not Rich Alvarez. I am Garrett, and this is Hayes. Say hello, Hayes. Say hello to the internet. Welcome to Video Game Fights, Star Wars Edition, featuring yours truly as the host instead of yours truly to my left. As tradition, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. Starting with me, I am Garrett. You should know me at this point from twitch.tv/The Complaint Department and many a media associated with the Rich Alvarez channel. To my left, the man himself.
You guys never seen me before. I'm new to this whole thing. I'm just kidding. If you don't know who I am, then, well, congratulations. You found the Rich Alvarez channel.
Yeah, right?
And don't forget to subscribe, Rich Alvarez. And stuff.
And stuff. To his left, a newcomer. A newcomer emerges.
Ray, I have a Twitch account, and it is Dracaris Dragons.
Dracaris Dragons. Look for that in the description.
I don't know how to spell Dracaris. That was a legitimate question.
You're gonna have to send that to us. Drop it in the group chat.
Link in the description.
And to her left, another recurring regular.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm still here. I'm Complaint Department, other side of Garrett's. I'm back on, so yeah. I've been playing all those games that like you guys don't really want to see, but you like talking anyway. So very chat interactive. I take the casual gaming approach. Currently playing Blood Bowl 2, which is not
a casual game.
It is a very casual game. It is very point and click, kind of XCOM-y. I really enjoy it.
That's good. It's a little something different. You see a lot of that.
Yeah, they're very short games. It's not a big investment. So, but I'm invested in you. So invest a little in me, I'll invest back.
It's good. Speaking of invested in you, we're going to get this show on the road because we got something to discuss today, and that is Star Wars.
Yeah!
Star Wars!
Nerds.
The iconography in of itself, the cultural phenomenon, Star Wars. Can't get enough of this sort of stuff. And we were discussing earlier how, like, just bless Ray for showing up here today because she is disposed today by two Star Wars titans. Rich, in the form of our right and left flanks. So we'll see how this all goes. But I have prepared the questions, and we'll be dispersing them as such. So let's get started. First question.
Round one.
Round one. So we know, or we should all know at this point, that Star Wars Battlefront 2, the EA successor to the somewhat controversial and not terribly well-beloved Battlefront 1, is coming out soon. And it's feature-dense, and many people have had a chance to look at it, but I turn the question over to you, my team, my friends. What does, absolutely without a doubt, Star Wars Battlefront 2 need to have, possess, to feature in order to succeed as a game where its predecessor did not? I turn to Rich for our first segment. You have 90 seconds.
All right.
Proceed.
Of course, everybody knows that the biggest problem with Battlefront 1, or EA's Battlefront, was, of course, there was no story mode. We're getting a story mode in Battlefront 2, and it's looking to be one of the greatest side stories in Star Wars history. At least, you know, if you count, like, the prequel book that they released and all of the media that have come out of it, it looks to be really deep and dense, which I love. I love deep and dense Star Wars stories. Obviously, I'm a historically huge Star Wars fan. That was dog bark. And that's the thing that I do not want to be disappointed by. I don't think that it will, but what I really want is that story to be long and replayable. Like I said, I don't doubt that the story will be good, but what I want is a huge story. Like, nothing sucked more than The Force Unleashed back a few years ago, and the story took like 3 hours to complete. I want this to be at least a Metal Gear 12-hour storyline, and preferably with multiple endings, path changes, level branches. So, like, for example, if you're playing it a second time and you make different decisions, you'll go off on like a planet you didn't do the first time. And I love that. I'm going to compare it a little bit to like the Star Fox level branch tree. This leads to this, leads to this, and you may end up at the same place at the end every time, but you may not. Multiple endings would also be really dope. If EA can give DICE some space to kind of play with that a little bit, that would be great. So overall, I'm just looking for a great, detailed, long, branchful, different story.
Solid. Excellent answer. I hear a very story-driven argument there. I turn the floor to Ray. What does Star Wars Battlefront 2 need to succeed? Ray.
After that answer, I feel so unprepared for that.
But you have an opinion.
I do.
And I would love to hear it.
The first one, I do have to agree, it didn't have a great storyline, if anything at all. It just was multiplayer. There was not really any single-player modes. It was only online. So I am glad that they are definitely getting more of the single-player storyline coming back. What I think they should possibly add, if at all possible, is to add more like the main story characters that are current in the current movies, like Kylo Ren, Rey, and Luke, and all the newer characters. Sorry, that's it all I got.
That's a fair point.
Right.
You want to see movie characters.
I want to see the movie characters.
You want to feel that connection between the movies and the game.
Yes.
I understand that. An excellent point. Very good. Then we turn the floor to Derek.
Make sure she doesn't knock that cord over.
I found
right?
I found a dog. It's over there.
That being said, we also have to be careful not to hit the table too hard. I've already caught myself doing it twice because that comes up loud.
It's like...
You want some of this?
No, stop.
How are your ears feeling now?
Ears.
Yeah, right?
I'm triggered.
I'm just making it hard for Rich in editing. Anyway, to Derek. 90 seconds. What's this new Star Wars Battlefront game? Go!
What was the question? I'm just kidding. It's an easy answer. The answer is NPCs. NPCs.
Elaborate a little bit.
No, it's all I need. You reskin the original Battlefront, and you're good to go. Part of the problem with the recent game was level design and NPCs. It felt like you were basically just playing against some of your friends, or just kind of in this close quarters battle. It did not have the overwhelming effect it used to by having all of the Wookiees charge, and just the feeling you had by having... they're not very smart, they're easy to kill, but just hundreds, it seemed, of fellow comrades fly into battle with you. It was very upsetting when I grabbed the new game, and I felt like I was playing a very bad Battlefield. I felt like Battlefield was better. I was like, I'm basically playing the best looking Star Wars game that has ever been released, and I'd rather go play the original Battlefield. It was very poor, and so I simplified my answers to more NPCs. They don't even have to be good. Just create this environment of how the battles really were in the movies. Just these massive amounts of clone armies and things like that going against just a more... just more. I don't know how to describe it other than more. Another huge complaint of mine was level design. Also very poor.
And stop! Good job. So I'm hearing, we've got some features in the movie, or wants to see it tie into the movies, wants to see that story mode be a main feature, and wants to see those battles grow to epic proportions. I turn the floor to the lot of you for the argumentation round. Convince me, my friends!
So Rich, they already made that, what you're asking. It's called Mass Effect, and it was lovely.
Yes, but I want it in Star Wars. And I feel like both of your guys' answers were kind of already answered in the trailer, because we saw the gameplay footage, and there is going to be a lot more like epic battles like that on a grand scale.
But they did that. Now, here's the thing. I don't doubt that, right? Sorry, burp. I don't doubt that. But they did the same thing in the original. They showed these epic battles, and all these people were running around, and all this stuff, and then they released it, and they're like, "It's 60 on 60, have fun, guys!" And that was, it was just a terrible.
No, trust me, they got this time.
Then it's perfect. Then it's exactly what we needed, and the story mode's going to be crap because you can't trust EA to make a good story mode.
I agree with you. I want that, but it looks like we're getting.
It's gonna be bad.
As far as main characters in Star Wars, the trailer did reveal the girl that you play in the game, the main character. It showed her aiming a gun at Luke Skywalker. So I feel like main characters from the game are going to be involved in the story mode, and then outside of story mode in the campaign modes, we saw Yoda fighting Darth Maul. We saw a whole bunch of cool stuff. So I feel like this is not going to have any limits as far as the canonical Star Wars characters go. But I'm actually personally more excited for the original characters that are going to be on display.
But
in this
you're
game.
wanting them to pretty much bring in the whole Mass Effect idea where they go to different planets and everything and still have battles there.
Oh yeah.
I really don't think they're going to do that.
Now what you're describing is a question that comes later on. You're describing a good Star Wars game. The question was, how would you make Battlefront better? And
make it a better Star Wars game.
Battlefront has always at its core been a very, very good shooter. That happens to be Star Wars themed. So in order to make Battlefront better, you need to stick with what Battlefront is, which is an online shooter. It's they can have those limited limited local rounds where you have like a campaign, kind of like they did in the most recent Battlefront. But you really need to step up your game on your online playability and even your local co-op. The NPCs just need to be smarter. I think me and Garrett, for example, crushed hard level co-op. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty much day one.
Yeah, day one. It was needed no training, no new weapons, and so they really need to step up that in order to make it Battlefront.
Oh, sure.
Game.
I don't disagree with you. I think that is definitely something that needed to be improved upon over the first game. But it looks to me, at least it looks, and I played it a little bit at E3. It looks like that experience is going to become exactly what you want. However, of course, they didn't spoil any of the story aspects beyond the first couple chapters, and so it would be really disappointing, at least to me personally. I know a lot of other Star Wars fans were like, story mode, story mode, story mode. So it's like they're giving us a story mode, but if it's kind of a half-assed story mode, then we're going to be just as upset as when we didn't get a story mode at all the first time. So I think that...
Pause real quick. Ray's being a little quiet, so I want to ask you.
Also,
kind of
her name's Ray.
Yeah, right. I want to get I want to get structured in on kind of get your argument out a little bit more. So, if not to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is it's understood that there are characters in the game. There are these main characters. Is that the most important part, or the part that should be featured the most? Make that argument to me.
I think that they should at least
why it is the most important part.
I think the characters would be the most important just because you'd be able to pick and choose who you wanted to be, obviously, that was able to do in the first one, but you didn't have a huge selection of characters that you were able to pick from.
Yeah, I agree. What you have an awesome point. Like, it was amazing to be Yoda on, I forget the name of the planet, which is my fault. Dock me points for that. The droid versus Wookiee, that level. that level, when you were Yoda, it felt like you were...
Oh, you're referring to Kashyyyk.
Thank you.
No, it's not Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk is...
But exactly, Ray has a fantastic point. That's exactly it. They need more playable characters, something that brings you back into the game.
Yeah, you had Yoda, you had Darth Vader, you had Luke, but they didn't actually have, like, Qui-Gon Jinn. They didn't have... Obi-Wan. They didn't have all the really iconic characters that needed to be in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Pause.
Fair.
So this round, I have decided. For starters, strong round. I actually think that was probably one of the strongest rounds we've had. Or that was a much stronger than I was
expecting. It's going to go downhill from here again.
Yeah, right. So that's great. Our best question was answered first. Thank God for a Star Wars game. This is all something we can talk about. That being said, I'm giving the first point to Derek Coulson.
Yes.
An excellent and compelling point. If I could award Rachel a point for her nails, however, I would. Because they're very nice.
And they're fantastically Star Wars themed.
Yeah, they are. They're
I didn't even think about that.
Accents. They're very nice. So, excellent. Congratulations, Derek, for your first point.
Yes.
For what it's worth, yeah, I think, though it was real close with Rich, because Rich brings up a compelling point that, like, that whole sort of thing, but you did bring up the idea that, like...
I realized very quickly...
People got through I really liked the idea that, what was it? Battlefront 2 didn't have a strong storyline.
Yes.
That's what people like hold up as the first-person shooter, and it was epic battles that really made that sort of thing. I love that you made that point, and that's what won the round for you.
I realized Rich had a more compelling argument, so I decided...
We're treading into unknown territory with first-person shooter storylines, so we'll see. We'll see. I hope it's all good, and I hope that every single person's comments here are featured within the final game. That being said, moving on to question 2. We turn our gaze to the ever-present, long established Star Wars The Old Republic MMO, SWTOR, if you will. A game that we've been playing quite a bit in amongst kind of the group here. Spike, off-screen from last week, here. Say hello. Hi. Also, a SWTOR fan. So, SWTOR as an MMO is very feature-dense. It's incredibly feature-dense. It features a lot more modes than a typical MMO would.
I'm dense.
In the form that there's, like, you can jump into PvP Battlegrounds, you can jump into PvP Starship fights, it's got on-rails Starship shooter stuff. It's got a lot packed within there. It's got a Mass Effect style story mode and a whole kinds of stuff. But it raises the question. Obviously, they're not showing any signs of slowing down, and it is BioWare's last chance to kind of maintain the licenses to keep this game going. So, what's next? BioWare's got to keep interest in this game, otherwise the license disappears, and Old Republic, as we know, begins to change a lot. What is the future for the SWTOR MMO? As per tradition, we move to our second person for the first round. Ray, you will start us off in this argument. What does SWTOR need?
SWTOR.
All right, again, with what I kind of said with the first time, I think, honestly, if they incorporated the newer characters from the actual movies would be a kind of a bonus.
It's 2,000 years before. It's like 4,000 years before the main movies.
I know, but they have so many different storylines. They can at least incorporate maybe from, like, their ancestors back in the past that go up to them. Would also make a really cool storyline, and it can tie into the current characters that you have on the Republic and the Sith side. Also, what I also want to do and see differently with that is when you got into a taxi, you go to a certain destination, you can't jump off of there to cancel out your taxi ride. That would be so wonderful to cancel that. Especially if you're in mid-flight and then you realize, oh crap, I just missed my exit. I need to go the other direction, and you have to take a whole nother 2 taxis to get to where you need to be. Also, another thing that I would love to do is, instead of like having one combination of like you hit 1 and you do like a simple lightsaber move, and then maybe 6 for a lightning strike. Instead of doing some that are timed to where you have to cycle through them and use them like lightning, you can hit like the lightsaber button, and then you can hit another button to do a completely different combination of a move, and you have a million different options of different combinations of attacks that you can do in battles, whether it be PvP or just versus the AIs that are in the game.
Okay. A very solid argument. Attack combinations, ways to take existing attack moves and combine them for a more dynamic fighting style. That's a compelling argument. We move on over to Derek. Derek, what does SOTOR, the MMO, require in order to succeed?
I canceled a taxi ride once, and I still have the scars to prove it. So. It can't be done. So, personally, I really enjoyed the game. I like what they did with it. I love the team that put it together. I think they should abandon it. I think they should abandon that entire plot line, much like World of Warcraft did with some of their later expansions. They're like, we're just going to create a whole other world. I think the only way you can survive and develop an additional following is by creating a new realm. And so my thought was to bring it more into the future with everybody's cult favorite canceled LucasArts game 1313.
Knew you were going to bring this up.
Of course I'm going to bring up 1313. I want 1313.
So salty about it.
Of course I'm salty about it. It's basically an underworld on Coruscant, and all you would have to do is set it in that realm. You, like, screw travel. You don't have to taxi ride to other places and things like that. If you just set a good MMO in that realm, you're running. Like, you could be smugglers. You could run an entire classic World of Warcraft Horde versus, or not even Sith versus Jedi, but like have just, what am I? I'm a smuggler. What am I over here? Well, I'm a Jedi follower. I think by creating a 1313 realm, you'd really be able to take what was built here to the next level.
Excellent. So a total lapse out of the main Star Wars focus into the more criminal underbelly. Also a compelling argument. Love it. We turn to Rich to finish up. What does SOTOR need?
Star Wars The Old Republic is an example of a completely fine-ass MMO. It took all the things from Guild Wars and World of Warcraft, and BioWare masterfully put it into this beautiful Star Wars galaxy that takes place about 3,600 years before the birth of Anakin Skywalker. However, it's not without its flaws, especially flaws at the beginning. My point here is that when they did the space missions, a lot of people weren't gelling with those space missions, even though I personally like them. And so then they introduced the PvP space battles, so they're trying it. Here's the thing. The hardest part about getting space battles right in any Star Wars game is making it feel like a Star Wars space battle. So here's what they gotta do. This is how they incorporate VR into Star Wars The Old Republic. VR space missions. You put on the helmet and you are flying that X-Wing, or it's not X-Wings in The Old Republic. You are flying that cruiser and you are feeling like you're actually there. If they incorporate VR into The Old Republic, that would breathe some new life into a desperately old genre, because as good as it is, again, MMOs, they haven't changed much over the last 20 years. And I think that would get a lot of new people in, and BioWare needs to hold on to that license. They need it, because they're the only ones making a real Star Wars game right now, until Battlefront 2 proves me wrong, alright?
For Rich, all I heard was optimism.
Yes. Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That is not. Okay. I hear Rich wants some VR integration. Ray has been arguing for the attack combinations and changing the travel system. And then we've got Derek on the other side. What did you argue again, Derek?
Scrap it. Scrap the whole thing. 1313.
Yeah. So you wanted the 1313 changeover. Forget Force users. Forget the current storyline. We need to focus on that Coruscant criminal underbelly. I like all three of these things. I'd love to see them. But which one will reign supreme?
Rich, you had said previously. All I do is say things loud and quick. It's how I am. What? Do with that as you will. You said that it gelled really well before. Well, I gelled once and I'm still trying to get it out of my hair.
Okay, well.
That's not an argument, but sick burn, buddy.
Jesus, let me tell you something.
I literally typed it down as a nose.
You know you're playing at my heartstrings with 1313. I want a 1313 game, but here's the problem. It's not plausible, at least with BioWare, because as soon as they stray away from the Old Republic era, they lose the license. Because when Disney bought Star Wars, they had to have a sit down with BioWare and be like, okay, guys, guess what? Old Republic, that's not canon anymore. But as long as you just stick to your own little thing, it's fine. The moment you come into our territory, you fuck.
But I understand that. But they have.
I don't disagree with you that it would be awesome.
Disney's real loose with their licensing.
Disney might be, but Mr. Pablo Hidalgo, who is currently the man in charge of Star Wars canon, hates the Old Republic. And it's not until Dave Filoni takes his job, which I hope happens, that I really hope that Dave Filoni does take that job. It looks like Pablo Hidalgo.
I feel like I'm losing, so I'm going to attack you directly.
No,
don't you get headaches in VR, Rich?
No, listen, we're not arguing for me personally. We're just saying what would improve it for everyone, and that's what would improve it.
That's a really good idea.
The thing is, though, with your VR, how many people actually have a VR system? And it is extremely expensive.
Currently 50% of this panel does.
Here's what's going to happen with VR. I would buy a VR system to play the VR in Star Wars.
You would fork out almost $600 to do that.
I sure as hell would. And anybody who has this, you can slap Star Wars on a lunchbox. And I've never bought a lunchbox, but I'll buy it because it got Star Wars on, even though that's his lunchbox.
Well, that's a collectible. Rich would pay different.
Rich would pay $600 to win this argument.
I just spent $200 on figures on Force Friday.
Okay, that is $200, and those are figures that you collect. The thing is, a VR system is expensive, and it has a completely different operating system.
Yes. Do you know how badly I want to play VR space battles, dude? And everybody who owns a VR would jump on this. And that is what is going to keep this game alive for longer than I think it only has like a year left if it otherwise. But anyways, I was going to say about your thing, Ray. I've got one thing to say to Ray, Derek. I got one thing to say to Ray. As far as the Star Wars timeline goes, the thing I love the most about Old Republic is it kind of represents one of the only things right now that is expanding the timeline and expanding the universe into this whole unique, different thing. The moment you put in ancestors from current characters in there, it kind of makes the universe feel a little small, and I don't want to keep making the universe small. Like, at first I was like, Rey has to be Luke's daughter because it's Luke, but now I'm kind of like, I think Rey's just no one's daughter, She's just born from the Force or something, because if you have too many of those kind of connections, it's like...
Stay focused.
Star Wars is,
all right,
is huge.
He's lost it. So...
I was making a point.
His argument is lost onto the fact of what would make the game better, which I'm now backing Ray, because my argument was terrible. This is my worst answer. If you make the game mechanically more sound, if you make it easier to play, it will allow the developers to naturally develop these worlds where you can jump from area to area. You have this more... You won't need epic space battles when you can travel freely in space, like you had mentioned with the taxi and things like that.
Ding! Ray, fight Rich. Get out of here.
Well, I just honestly think the game would be better if you
fight him.
Fight him.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I might win because I don't know if you hit a girl. But, no. I honestly think the game would be a lot better if you were able to get all the little minor things that players don't like about the game and just make it better and fix things. Like, if you, like I said, get on a taxi and you accidentally go to the wrong destination and you realize at last second, you can jump off and cancel the taxi and you're right there where you need to be. That was one of my worst things I hated the most, because when you have to take a taxi somewhere and you go to a certain destination, you realize you're in a completely wrong area because the map is wacky sometimes, and it'd just be easier just to cancel it.
That is, at best, though, just like a tweak that they can fix in a patch.
Oh, like, I know, but at the same time, they could also make things a lot better. They add more customizations to, like, I don't know, making your own taxi, your own cruiser, customizing it how you want. There's
like,
many
yes.
different options that they can do to make it better.
I agree that would be better, but my option of VR opens it up to the next generation of players and also introduces the current players to something potentially really awesome. And I think that the whole idea here is we love Star Wars: The Old Republic. We want it to last another 5 to 10 years, and this is how you do it.
I don't think solely. I'm actually going to not just support her. Last thing.
I don't think it's gonna work.
Good round, guys. Good round.
Terrible round.
This was a deeply imperfect round in comparison to the first one.
yes, it was.
But that being said, point goes to Rich.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was good. So yeah, outside of the really obvious counter, which is the fact that not a lot of people own the VR headset, which is an issue and whatnot. Yes. I think you really you're struck to the core of the question. The idea is what is the what is gonna not just what tweaks does the game need to fix, or what does when the short needs to happen, but what is gonna keep Old Republic alive forever and whatnot. And it's doing something wild, like you said. It's just taking a freaking taking a freaking dive and trying to taking a big old dump on tradition.
I know you got $10.
I really hope Djibouti Dubs watches this.
Yeah, at Djibouti Dubs, follow. Excellent. So congratulations, Rich. I was very close to picking Ray that round.
She was good.
He dropped some knowledge bombs.
I know from outside though that was the question you were most worried about too, and for you to pull it back to a close second.
I peeked my head out in the middle of the air raid, and Rich flew by, which is a whole different set of facts, and I was like, I don't know any of this. Okay.
Question number 3,
and this is where I win.
A question that I consider.
Just go, Jackie. People know who you are.
Silence.
I'm not going to cut it out. I think it's hilarious. Keep going.
We're still going.
Question number 3. Question number 3. Which honestly is the question that everybody here friendship with me is going to hinge on this question here, because this is the one that I'm the most interested in. It's the golden era. It's the golden egg, I should say, is better. Another freaking dev studio gets access to a Star Wars license. We've had some criticisms for the ones that currently hold them, and have been pretty limited and kind of stingy with them. So another dev studio gets the Star Wars license to make a game in any genre, of any type that they can do. So I want to hear what studio it is. I want to hear as many details as you can cram into your 90 seconds about what kind of game I'm going to be playing, and then I will judge you harshly on exactly what experience you are presenting to me. That being said, as is tradition, we go to our third player for the third question. We go to Derek. Derek, dev studio, game, make it, go.
Candy Crush, Star Wars.
Holy shit.
I'm totally just kidding.
I thought you were so serious for a second.
Blizzard.
Bantha Crush.
Blizzard. Clone Wars. MMO.
Okay.
With the Clone Wars, which people give those movies just a terrible, terrible rap. I loved the customization that each of the droids had. Each of them had their own personality, and I really think that would translate well into an MMO. Much to what we had talked about earlier, which Rich talking about a rich and vibrant single story, or a single player story, can really be translated into an MMO, much like World of Warcraft did. It would be very easy for somebody like Blizzard, who has an extensive history in creating very good and very deep stories that have a very interactive online experience, to take over what would be one of the most diverse plot lines, which would be the Clone Wars. I really think they'd be able to take that and allow you to have that player customization experience that Star Wars: The Old Republic didn't have. You'd be able to add things such as the mounts. You would be able to create a world that people would want to go back to over and over again. You don't even have to bring in the main characters this time. This really allows them to create their own footing within the Star Wars realm. And I think Blizzard's probably the only developer that could do that properly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. So, Derek, Blizzard, and MMO, Clone Wars era, clones versus droids versus clones, I presume. All right, very good. We go to Rich. 90 seconds. What do we got to see from what dev studio? Proceed.
It should be to no one's surprise. I love Bethesda. And Bethesda does a really fantastic job of making these epic, massive single-player RPGs. Imagine that formula, but Star Wars. And not just any Star Wars, set between Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. Famously, one of the best Star Wars stories of all time, The Shadows of the Empire, starring Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
And Prince Caesar of the Black Sun takes place in this very time period. So you can expect to see characters such as that in this game. You know, because the Black Sun, they've had a little bit of time. They're actually in the Old Republic, a very early Black Sun, and we've seen them teased a little bit in Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, but we haven't really seen them in the new canon that much. And there is almost no space battle bigger than Prince Caesar's huge ship versus the Empire and the Rebels. There's this huge three-way fight. And just imagine the build-up to that with the whole thing, because in Shadows of the Empire, we only really see it from Dash Render's point of view. Imagine that huge battle in this huge fucking game where that is like the whole thing builds up to that. It's bigger than the battle in Return of the Jedi, bigger than the battle in Rogue One, and we deserve to have a massive Star Wars game where it's battle, Black Sun, Rebel, Empire, three-way fight. Battlefront 2 is going to get somewhere close to that idea, I think, but not as close as this game would do. Also, Dash fucking Rendar, dude. Dash fucking Rendar. That's all I gotta say.
Dash fucking Rendar, dude.
That Star Wars character.
Boom. Closing arguments. Dash fucking Rendar.
Dash fucking Rendar! Very solid, Rich. Okay, excellent. So you want to see a Bethesda classic first-person sort of like epic experience set specifically in the Shadows of the Empire sort of canon.
Yeah, basically I want them to remake Shadows of the Empire.
I know you do, and I knew that was going to be your answer to the question, Rich. Before I even wrote this question and told it to you, I'm going to be like, that's going to be Bethesda, that's going to be Shadows of the Empire, and I called it right. That being said, it's a good answer. So we go to Ray. We go to Ray for her answer. What dev studio should take over? What are they going to do with the Star Wars license? How are they going to mix it up as a new player? Proceed.
Honestly, I had to think really hard about this one just because I'm not too familiar about different studios that do games a whole lot. I only know the very basic ones that they have already mentioned.
They've got a lot of good ones.
So I had to kind of come up with a couple other ideas on what games I currently play, and one game that I absolutely fell in love with was Morrowind. And the creators who did that was Monolith. They did an amazing job on creating that game. It is beautiful, it is dynamic, and all around, the controls are easy to maneuver, nothing's too complicated. The storyline is completely laid out, plain and simple, to where it's easy for anyone of any level to learn, and I think they would do an amazing job with it.
Are we thinking of the same Morrowind?
The newer one.
The newer one?
Yes, Morrowind. I can't remember the full name of it, but it is the newer one that just came out, I think, last year or this year.
Well, because there's Elder Scrolls Morrowind.
No. And
then there's Elder Scrolls Morrowind Online.
No.
There's another game called Morrowind. Have you heard of this?
I didn't know. What are you doing it?
Google.
I don't have my phone, so I can't Google it.
I know, right? It's fine. So,
comment section, help me out, even though you're seeing this post.
Yeah, post doing this. So, in the argument section, I'll need to hear a little bit more about what type of game you're pitching. So go ahead and do that, because I hear very distinctly epic MMO sort of thing from there, and it's
the game where you're pretty much just sitting. You're as the character.
I'm gonna give you the rest of your 30 seconds.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's pretty much where you're playing as a one main character and you're playing their story. It's kind of like Skyrim and stuff like that. It's kind of the same baseline of that, but you're a completely different character in a Star Wars realm. If they pretty much took the Morrowind idea and just pretty much put it as Star Wars themed and Star Wars characters, storylines, everything, they'd be completely fine and they'd do an amazing job.
Cool. We'll work with that. So you and Rich are pitching a very similar game.
Yeah.
So here's the question.
Which means I'm better.
Which means we have to hear it, so it's going to depend on a lot of sort of thing. For starters, Bethesda did play a large role in that game, or at least Morrowind as you're presenting it, if it's the Elder Scrolls version. And and regardless of what Morrowind we're discussing, Bethesda is very well known for producing games like that. So, for between you two, I'm going to be curious why Monolith over Bethesda. For you, on the other hand, you got your own business.
Yeah.
To sort of argue. Wait! Go!
So, Skyrim, man. No.
Actually,
I don't actually have a point, I'm just yelling.
As far as I know, Monolith is most famous for the Fear series, Fear and Fear 2, and they do nothing but horror games. And
what if they made Star Wars into kind of a darker story?
we've seen darker stories from Star Wars, and they can be okay. But at least the monolith that I'm thinking of, I didn't feel like they have it in their toolbox really to present the Star Wars universe in that kind of way, unless they make it a very smaller story, which I could see. But not that nothing that I would feel like would be. I just don't see Disney giving the license to Monolith.
Hold on. That's not the question. The question isn't who gets the license. That's not. That has nothing
who
to
would
do
make
with
a good game.
Yeah, who would create a good game? And I would argue, based on the various hats
Garrett
here,
did say the most plausible answer wins.
Yes, would be Blizzard and an MMO.
I said I would take
they
plausibility
clearly
into account.
have the longest and the most expansive experience dealing with MMOs. So if you ever wanted to create an MMO that would rival Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is alright. I didn't really like it, which is going to lose me points right now. I know, I'm sorry. I would argue that if you managed to give
Derek gets out. No. It was flawed. It was flawed. It was fun.
I would manage if you were able to give that over to...
I need to refer to it in the past tense.
You haven't a stroke?
We've actually had 2 Star Wars MMOs. There were Star Wars Galaxies back in the day too.
That's true.
Remember that ish? Remember that hot mess?
I honestly think you guys should just give it to like a smaller company because you never know, they might actually do a good job.
You can't. You cannot give MMOs to smaller companies.
Don't make it an MMO.
It has to be an MMO.
No, it does not.
The next game that comes out and is going to rival the world as far as popularity is going to be an MMO. Why not have it be Star Wars?
But we already have an MMO that could be better.
No, because the MMO that has already been created is outdated. They're running an old engine. They're running, unfortunately, a timeline that is only very specific to people who followed that. And so if you're trying to get a new generation on this, you're going to have to put somebody who's very popular, which would be Blizzard.
If Star Wars: The Old Republic did end, and I would only want another Star Wars MMO if it ended, I want some time. I want 5-10 years before another Star Wars MMO to kind of like give some breathing room to smaller games. Not maybe as small as you might be thinking, but single player experiences.
You can't tell me that if Blizzard came out with an MMO tomorrow,
that was like
$20 a month. You just wouldn't be like, oh, I guess I don't exist anymore.
I really desireth a character-driven single-player RPG because we haven't really had one of those for Star Wars. And it would be so dope if Bethesda did it because they get so detailed with all the intricacies of like how a character is built technically and personality-wise. They did Paragon and whatever in Mass Effect. You got to have your good side, light side, and obviously we have that a bit in Old Republic. But on not this kind of scale, and just the story. Everybody used to say, "Oh, Dash Rendar, he's just a Han Solo clone," but he's really not. There's so much to him. Dash Rendar is the best Star Wars character ever created.
Yeah. One more time, between Ray and Rich, I need to hear one thing. So, Ray, understanding you're arguing for a studio that is predominantly that really shines bright when it does small, compact, quick, juicy stories, usually in the horror genre. Why is that going to circumvent Rich's game, which is generally presented as big, epic, open-world adventures? That's what I need to hear a little bit more.
Okay, well, the more I thought about it, the Morrowind is connected to the Elder Scrolls Morrowind MMO, is what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought.
Pretty much, it's just...
Well, we can roll with that. We can roll with that.
Okay, well, that game I honestly think is beautiful. It is really good, especially if you're able to play it on Ultra or High. And I just like how it's laid out. The game is amazing. Yeah, it is dark because it's made by Monolith, sorry. And...
Morrowind.
Shut up.
That's a good company name.
Right? Morrowind. Okay, anyway. But, I honestly think they would do a phenomenal job of it if they made it as an RPG, single person, in kind of that aspect, but not MMO.
I love it.
Okay.
I love MMOs.
Time. I think I've heard enough.
I love MMOs.
I know.
We heard you the first 3 times.
You watched that. You watched that spit guard, man. And this is good. We got some real compelling arguments here. On one hand, give it to a small developer that is going to maybe do something a little bit different, something a little bit of justice. On the other hand, big-scale MMOs, especially by a powerhouse like Blizzard with the Star Wars license, holy crap, that's powerful. Meanwhile, equal potency in the idea of a Star Wars Bethesda game, which I actually believe was the strongest argument. So we're going to go ahead and give this one to Rich because
I should have led with
only because as much as you and Rachel were arguing for something very similar, I think Bethesda as a developer is just a little is not a notch above Monolith and really presenting exactly what you were. You were arguing a very similar game. And in fact, I think Bethesda could make what Rachel's idea better than Monolith could.
But they're known for their horror games.
I know they are.
Give him the point, but I do want to bring this up. Just try to imagine the pace of a Star Wars game that Bethesda made. Oh my god. I would make it maybe 10 minutes into it, and the second I had to walk 300 feet as a Jedi, like, why aren't I jumping? Where's jumping?
You wouldn't have a lightsaber for the first hour and a half. I would tell you that.
Oh my god. I would lose it. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
That being said,
Yeah,
I really like Rich's argument, but now we get into the fun ones, where I don't think Rich has as much of an advantage. Because these tend on creativity. Yeah, now we're gonna get into the arguments that I think Rachel's strongest
I would
at.
play all of your games though, by the way.
So we got 2 for Rich, we got 1 for Derek, we got Rachel entering it, trailing at 0, but entering into her strongest questions right now. So let's see, it's still anybody's game.
That's a really fun question too.
Oh yeah. So this is funny because so much on video game fights we focused on the best versions of things. We focused on like what's going to take video games to the next level. What are people going to love? How do we sell this concept? But I need to hear from you guys today. What is the worst Star Wars game? But I want to hear about a game that exists. I want to hear about a game that could exist. I want to hear kind of almost the opposite of the question we just asked. A new game comes out from, who develops it in this case is not important, but I want you to describe to me in as much detail as you can, as much nitty-gritty awful detail, a Star Wars game that can come out in the next few years that is without a doubt
Trash.
A dumpster fire of a game and is just awful. So that's what I want to hear. I want to hear your awful Star Wars games. Anyway, we're on to question 4. We go to Rich to start off with. Rich, tell me that plausible Star Wars game that's going to come out in the next few years.
Isn't it missed?
No, she's next.
You went last time.
You just
You
went
started
first.
last time.
Oh, thanks for throwing off my phone.
Round 4 goes back to the original questionnaire. All right, here we go.
I appreciate that.
Do I have my 90 seconds?
And go!
All right, so hi guys. Remember the 90s? Remember flannel shirts, backwards hats? Oh, whoops. Educational video games was huge.
Still living there.
You saw. I live in 1998 at all times. They sold so many of those like Mattel and Tiger fake handheld games, and they were flooded with Leapfrog, flooded with all these educational video games that were just total crap. When Disney bought the Star Wars license back in 2012, I have to admit that one of my initial fears was like, oh god, are they going to bring back all those educational Star Wars games?
It's coming.
Hey, it's going to come eventually.
That is like the fear I have. I mean, I'm sure it'll be great for little kids, but think of it this way. The game that I'm pitching that could be so terrible is Vader Teaches Math. A Star Wars game where you learn math. Does math even exist in the Star Wars universe? I don't think it does, at least not the way that we think about it. But I certainly don't want Darth Vader to teach me multiplication or pre-algebra. Droids do math, but it's not like Earth math and just like the last person I love Darth Vader. He's a sinister guy. We don't need more of demasculating and making de-intimidating Darth Vader, and him teaching math to children is just not where I want this series at all to go. I mean, look at Mario is Missing. That was a dumpster fire of a game, wasn't it? Like, we do not need more educational video games.
Was it comment section?
When you want to educate your children, please read them a book. Please teach them something from you as a parent personally. Do not sit them down in front of the TV, and do not show them a Star Wars video game, especially one called Vader Teaches Math. Please don't make it happen. Oh, god damn.
Hey, Anakin, how many kids are in the room?
10!
There were 10.
That's terrible!
Let's see, now we got 9.
There were 20 Tusken Raiders in this camp. Anakin Skywalker brutally slaughtered 8 in cold blood.
How many Tusken Raiders fled to their colony?
Yeah.
12.
That's a bad idea.
12.
For so many reasons.
Oh, man.
Honestly,
not pictured on screen is Spike losing it. So
Honestly,
pause. It's not an argument phase. It's not an argument. You're gonna get it.
That's really good.
That being said, you are next.
okay.
So not addressing either one of the arguments yet, just purely focusing on your own. I need to know, Ray, what's your vision for the Star Wars dumpster fire that is inevitable around the corner with the licensing?
honestly, since I've actually been watching a lot of recent TV and different shows that are going on right now, I've been seeing there's a lot of buzz going around about the stupid BattleBots TV series. And honestly, I so hope Star Wars does not make a whole space bots battle thing going on where they take their R2D2 C3PO or whatever other robots were there in the movies or in the games, and you're able to customize them and send them into battle and control them, and it sounds terrible because I could just see them adding like Plants vs. Zombies plants, and you're able to like throw them at your opponents, or just something crazy and stupid.
Yes.
I can see them doing that.
She doesn't want astromech droids fighting. Is that it?
That is it. That's literally it.
Okay. So Ray really doesn't want to see BattleBots. Ray really doesn't want to see a BattleBots game.
Stupid.
Rich doesn't want to see the Tusken. He doesn't want to see Darth Vader emasculated, is all I heard.
How many arms does Mace Windu have?
Oh, man. Okay, so, honestly, all you guys did was make those games seem better. You succeeded in pitching two awful games that I would hate play the shit out of. All right.
I probably would.
Well, who knows? All right, let's see. Because you've still got the contender to your left, and if anybody knows a real bad time, it's that guy on the left here. That being said, Derek, the dumpster fire, Star Wars, da-da-da-da, go.
So it's easy. You guys can always already conceptualize this. Imagine a Pod Racer remake. Oh my God!
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Keep going. Keep going.
Shut up during your time.
It's your time.
That's fine. No, so Pod Racer remake. Imagine them trying to do like incorporate some Mario Kart / like Crash Team Racing thing into it, where you're like riding around and you're like, oh, you gotta hit the crate in order to get the sauce from the side of your Pod Racers. And Anakin's just sitting there, and all you hear him is going, the whole time as he's going, and Jar Jar's just sitting behind him going, Misa kinda licks the things out. It wouldn't even be reasonable for them to remake the Pod Racer game. The original was like good for like a lap or two, but when you started like getting into the actual race and it made you go around and around and around. Imagine them releasing that in an HD remake, Star Wars Pod Racer 2. It would just be trash. It would be like playing a NASCAR style race where all you do is make a left, and every once in a while Jar Jar goes, you've got 3 turns left. Well, now if we combine Rich's idea, we can have Vader count how many laps we have left. It would be just terrible. There was so many racist characters in that game that to bring that back now would just amplify it.
That's an interesting point.
I would be so excited to see it, but it would be a dumpster fire.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just like, what?
That's okay.
No, I gave you a hard time.
It was good.
So you successfully pitched 3 games that I would play. That I would play all of them. I wouldn't like all of them. I wouldn't like any of them. But I would play all of them. I'd probably go on twitch.tv/the department and be like, hey everybody, did you know this exists?
Have you seen this piece of trash?
Yeah, right? Anyway, I want to hear, in complete contrast to our usual argument of arguing who is best and who has made the best game and who is compelling and creating the best future for video games, everybody needs to tell me why they're the worst.
Oh my
God.
Is it not that I would actually play both your guys' games?
Holy.
I
Continue.
would really just play both your games, because both your games that you guys pitch are actually kind of sounding fun.
They already made it. They already made yours.
Star Wars
Rich.
math.
Oh,
that is sad.
It's Jabba. It's Jabba. Jabba's teaching you math. Star Wars math. Jabba's Game Galaxy.
Well, yeah, I don't
dear
doubt
Lord.
that they made Star Wars educational games. I'm just saying I don't want to see Vader teach.
Are you going to put this one in VR too?
No.
I need space battles.
But at the same time, like,
Right, it's VR.
I could, like, my pitch of what I was thinking of a space bot battle is just the random cheesy ideas that you can throw in it is just unreal and unfathomable.
I
don't think
love
Battle-
And I would want a remaster version of that.
I
I so would.
I would have played the hell out of
They could
a
make that
BattleBots
actually
Star Wars
pretty
game.
fun.
No, I would not.
Yes.
It sounds like what's the game I play all the time with the cars?
Mario?
No. Well, yeah, I play that too. What? Rocket League. It sounds like they could do an awesome Rocket League thing with that kind of, like...
Yes.
Twisted Metal type
Star
Wars
they're all
game?
kicking
Bring it
BB-8
on.
down the field.
Like, yeah, I think that would be actually
Honestly,
pretty good.
I
Actually,
think mine
that would
is
be
probably the worst idea.
No.
Did you know
Yeah.
that I actually made?
So a lot of people are into
Star Wars
droids. A
Destruction,
lot of
what's
people
it
are
called?
into
I
droids,
know.
and the idea of
Demolition.
customizable
It
droids
exists.
is going to be kind of interesting
Okay,
to people.
guess what? They've made your game too. It's called Star Wars Demolition, and it was
Seriously?
awesome.
And they made a BattleBots game.
I don't know that it
And
was
both
awesome.
of them were fantastic.
I loved it.
They've
I-
also made Derek's
It
game.
was Twisted
Both of them
Metal
were
Star Wars.
Yeah, but not the remake. See, I acknowledge that every game ever has been made.
That is a good point.
Also, Derek, my friend,
I
Star
still
Wars
think yours is
Racer
the best because only
was
because
phenomenal.
it'd be fun to play.
I don't know.
It
Were
was
you playing
terrible.
the same game I was, especially the arcade version where you're in the pod
I'm not
racer,
talking about
dude?
the arcade version. The arcade version.
Dude,
is fun.
VR. I know, right? VR.
Oh you don't even have one!
I know, but a VR. Okay, forget the VR. Even though that would be awesome, dude. Pod Racer in HD today. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that wants that.
Did you watch?
I want that.
Did you watch the movie where they had the? There's nothing to add to pod racing.
Oh, see,
And
that's
then-
there's
that's
so
my
much
favorite
you
scene
can
in
add.
episode 1, dude. Maybe even
Yes,
over the
but there's
lightsaber
nothing. There's
fight.
nothing to add as far as playing the game. If you ever played, I actually bought it, so I know it's terrible. If you actually played pod racers at home, if you had them remake that, it would be just trash.
Please watch Schmo's Nose video on why the pod racing scene from episode 1 is actually one of the greatest movie scenes ever made.
You mean
Do
that,
it.
I
You
have
mean
to
that
agree.
Ben-Hur chariot scene? In
Yes,
the beginning
Garrett,
of-
yes,
in
there
the
was a
beginning
lot
of
of
Star-
inspiration from Ben-Hur. But that you have to mimic greatness, okay?
Do you?
Apparently.
Do you?
Dude,
Yeah,
Star
VR.
Wars-
You have to mimic greatness
They
in
could
VR.
remake Pod Racer, make it exciting and
No,
fun
they
and
couldn't.
great.
Yes, they
couldn't.
could.
You're making it sound like it was Star Wars Bomb Pad Racing, which was a terrible game. Like,
Oh, man.
Thank you for supporting me.
we're only because we're fighting.
Only because we're fighting.
I know.
Alright, so this one's a little bit harder because a little more ambiguous this round. Every single, I mean, like, notwithstanding publisher and, you know, like this sort of stuff and whatnot, like, you know, like glitches are really what kills games these days, and, you know, like bad production and bad release and all this sort of stuff. But conceptually, I don't know. But all three of these games can kind of go both ways. The Pod Racer remake could be dope, or it could be a really clear, like, Mario Kart ripoff and, like, completely lose the tone of Star Wars. The BattleBots thing could be underdeveloped trash that is literally just a loop of the R2-D2 being on fire noise.
Yeah.
It could be an opportunity for people to jump into the Star Wars universe and create custom droids and battle them, which could be fun.
I want that though.
I know, right? And then, meanwhile, this
Rocket
right here
robots.
exists in throngs and is successful in a lot of weird situations and totally does bear separation to the official canon and just bothers Rich.
It just does.
And, so, as with anything that's going to get popular. So I'm a little torn. I'm going to go to my peanut gallery. My very impartial peanut gallery. To,
I have the Jack's peanut.
yeah. So let's get my Jackie and my spiky peanut. And please speak up so the microphones can hear you.
All right. So my personal opinion is that I would not play Richie's game because I don't need to play math. I would definitely definitely play Ray's game. But
Everyone's like,
this is not,
shit, you'd play it? God dang it!
this is not about personal opinions. My personal opinion is that I think that Derek can talk a real good game about anything.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give my personal point of
To being completely sure that the next Pod Racer remake is going to be a dumpster fire?
yes.
I could make that dumpster fire.
To,
Yeah, right.
to Richie, am I thinking of the right game? Is it the one where it's like it's a new lap record?
Oh no, not record.
Is that game? Okay, all right, we're on the same page here.
Okay.
So wait, you think that his game will be good though? Then we're supposed to be voting for who had the worst game.
I'm voting.
No,
for
she
who had
clarified
the
that.
best
Oh, okay.
arguments.
The best
I
arguments
don't
for that.
care
Okay.
about the games.
Okay.
Yeah, right? And I'm not
Right.
trying to get you in the doghouse or anything, but, like, I do want your opinion on which one you think is the worst.
Oh god.
Be honest, I do not care what your answer
Yeah,
is.
right.
Sweetheart.
Just as you're thinking, just
Because I'm
Think-
pretty sure
think
I read people's
Yeah.
pre-submitted answers to the question.
Think about-
next round.
No,
Making
I
me-
like. I'm
think
thinking
about it.
all
Think
four.
about it. Think about
And if I had to say the worst, I gotta go with Rich's.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It's terrible.
Absolutely
Like,
terrible.
I wouldn't
absolutely
want
horrible.
Vader.
At the same time, though, granted, I would be laughing my ass off the whole entire
Yeah,
It was
see,
made ironically with
Yes.
adults in mind.
Thank
Yes,
you.
but
It would
wouldn't
be
be.
with adults in mind. If a kid played that, you'd be like, what?
2+2. You may dispense with the pleasant.
Listen, I don't want to walk in on my niece and find her learning math from Darth Vader. It just won't happen.
Because that, like, cements that image in their minds of Darth Vader, and, like, you know, anytime subsequently they bring Darth Vader back in the movie, they'd be like, "He taught me math." Like, holds the cannon.
But doesn't that already do that with Jabba the Hutt teaching
No,
math?
Jabba the Hutt can teach math.
Not to say that was a good idea.
Jabba the Hutt can, he talks numbers and money all day. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, right?
I need 3 slaves.
I executed 3 slave Twi'leks today. 2 of them were eaten by my Rancor, and a 3rd was killed by my pig guards.
Yep.
How many more slaves?
How many pig guards do I have?
Yes, right. That being said, real
Wait, he's
strong
got-
answers. I have to be impartial, and I gotta give it to Rich on the 3rd round, which means for the round 5, we enter into a very interesting point because we are 1-1-3, which means it's a big town for Derek and Ray. And I actually think Derek and Ray, I read the answers ahead of time, and I think Derek and Ray are really strong for this next round. So this will determine who goes to the final. Here we go.
I'm getting
So
text
it's like
messages
3
about
me, 1
barbecue.
Derek. So Ray has to get this, and then they'll have to have a tiebreaker.
Correct, yeah. Correct. Okay, cool. So,
I won 3 in a row. Is that a first?
that is a first. Although
Jeez.
Garrett judges this time, and Garrett cares a lot less about the pacing of an episode and way more just about like the impartiality of a thing. So that being said, Ray, your strongest question, you're going first.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I asked our players here today to pitch for me a game that really was inspired by kind of the wait, are you smoking? No. Are you doing that?
Look what you made me do.
Oh, it smells so wonderful over here.
Oh, Jackie's gonna get it right in front of the camera.
Oh, the autofocus is ruined.
Okay.
God, we're a bunch of losers.
Yes.
All right.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, this was very inspired by Battlefront 2 because as anybody who's checked out Battlefront 2 knows, it's from the Empire perspective, which is so dope. But outside of like the Old Republic series and maybe the Old Dark Forces game and a handful of things, we really haven't dealt with a game that unabashedly features a protagonist that is dark side, that is evil, and not on some like quest for redemption or anything, but is just evil and doing evil things and doing them well. I need to hear about a game from my players here that features in the most glorious way real action from the dark side. We go to Ray first.
Yeah.
Who I think thinks well within this realm.
Yeah.
I usually play.
3, 2, 1, go!
I usually play as a Sith character on Star Wars: The Old Republic on MMO.
Not surprised.
So I usually can relate a little bit better to them for whatever reason. But my pitch for it is an alternate reality for Anakin,
Ooh.
where the main character is Anakin, where you think everything is what you think it is, and you're turning to the dark side and you're becoming this invincible Dark Lord. And then you wake up after being burned by lava and your limbs are on fire and everything is backwards. The Republic are Sith and the Sith are Republic.
Ooh.
And nothing is what you believe it is, and you're constantly questioning what is going on. Why is it like this? Why is Yoda like freaking batshit crazy?
Why is he
And
red? Sorry, continue.
why is he like it's completely twisted and contorted, and it's probably close to like a psychological game. And I'm going back to my horror games because I absolutely love horror games. I think that would be a twist, and I think it would be pulled off amazingly.
We saw a recent title like that in the form of Hellblade. They really focused on like delusion and mental illness. So I'm really and I would argue Hellblade was a
M.
work
Night
of art.
Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Yeah.
What a twist.
I would argue Hellblade was one of
Yes.
the most interesting and unique experiences
That's
that I've
actually
seen
really good,
recently. So I'm real curious by
I
your
like
answer.
when
An
I
idea
do
that
this.
focuses on
Makes it harder.
Anakin's fall, specifically from a really delusional
And it makes him
perspective.
question whether...
Your time's up! But thank you. You made a compelling argument in the time. We move to Derek, who needs to back away from his mic, otherwise his voice is going to distort. Oh my god. Something dark side.
Hi, buddy. Just wanted to whisper. Anyway, Star Wars. This is pretty easy. It's actually the first time I've pitched a first-person RPG. Now it's going to be Rise of the Sith.
Okay.
So we have The Last Jedi. Now none of us has watched it, so none of us really knows what's going to happen. My thought is you take the fall of the Jedi as an opportunity for the Sith to rise. You're following your own created character, and as a prodigy of Kylo. And so you're helping Kylo and Snoke eliminate Luke and Rey. this is kind of the premise for this first episode. It allows you to walk through the shoes. Ray?
Don't look at me.
Ray?
You said Rhea?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that like Leia and Ray?
Yeah. Never forget. She's a nice lady.
Forever loved.
Yes. So anyways, this is just following the Sith's path to the Sith's ride. You've never seen in a game following the path of what it takes to truly follow the dark side. You've seen it in the movies, kind of in this vague concept of like, oh, once you have the dark side, boom, lightning fingers. But if a game took you into this immersive environment that allowed you to watch the rise and fall and struggle of the Empire lose and gain ground from the perspective of what you think is truly good, I think that would allow you to really immerse yourself into the Sith environment, and probably by the end of it, you'd think you're the good guys.
Time. Not bad.
Nope.
Not bad at all. First person RPG focusing on Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren. I'm going to extrapolate the terminology to you, and their quest to dethrone the Republic, or the good guys, as it will. Rich, Star Wars, evil, go.
All right, guys. Star Wars Shadow of Dark Divine. This is a Witcher-style, dark, mature, dense, massive RPG made by CD Projekt Red, the creators of The Witcher. Now, this is centering on Darth Plagueis, who in new canon we don't know a whole lot about except that he was the master of Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine. This would follow him on him just beginning his training, his quest for power, him training Palpatine, and eventually Palpatine's betrayal. And because I'm a sucker for multiple endings and different plot twists, it would also contain a non-canonical alternate ending where Palpatine dies and Plagueis wins and gets to fulfill his dream of creating the Empire and doing everything. But imagine that. I mean, you know, you can create a Sith in the Old Republic, but nothing as intense as Darth Plagueis. Makes Revan look like child's play, this guy. He is the greatest, evilest Sith Lord that has ever and will ever been. And he just gets snuffed in his sleep by Sidious. It's pathetic. Come on, please. His story needs to be told, and it needs to be told on this scale. This is an M-rated Star Wars game. Witcher, CD Projekt Red. It's going to be massive, great, beautiful, beautiful.
6 out of 10.
That was a pathetic bell ring.
Yeah, it's because I missed the thing, because I was using a pencil.
There you go.
Why didn't you argue CD Projekt Red for your Bethesda answer?
I don't know.
I love CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, it's
Cyberpunk's gonna be out of control! Oh my god! Anyway, next video.
You can expect our Let's Play of it soon.
Yeah, right? When it comes out in 5 years.
Yeah.
When it's done, as the developer studio is saying. When it's done. They're not saying soon. Alright, I hear 3 pretty good answers. I hear something... I hear actually fairly similar games. I hear an action game focused around the followers of Kylo. I hear an action game focused around Vader and Anakin. I hear an action game focused around Pelagius. 3 very well-known characters. What?
Plagueis, I said.
Plagueis.
Actually, Plagueis. Darth Plagueis.
Aren't we just all screwing up names now?
Huh? Which are 3 very, very prominent Sith Lords within the canon and whatnot. So, one very well-known, one slightly newer, maybe not even a Sith Lord, but still dark side, and then one lesser offshoot, kind of obscure, but still really bad, kind of set all this in motion. That's a very interesting perspective and whatnot. So we got 3 games featuring 3 wildly different characters. Let's argue it out. Let's see where this goes. Sorry.
I honestly think Raven was probably the best Sith Lord out of all of them.
Hey, don't you shit on Revan.
I love Revan.
Revan was a badass.
I'm just saying, compared to Plagueis, that's all.
But honestly, I honestly think that the alternate reality would be just a twist of it. It would make the game a lot worthwhile because you'd be able to pick and choose different options in the game to where you could either benefit or throw yourself under the bus.
Am I in VR in this, Rich?
Yeah, is it VR? Is it
no VR? There's no VR here.
Because I'm just wondering.
Please clarify.
They're just
VR
reusing
might be
the
an
Witcher
option.
3 engine.
Yeah. I need
No VR.
You need to help me clarify where I'm at in your realm, because so far I'm.
Everything's been
picturing
VR for you,
goggles
so.
and, you know.
I mean, mostly because I've been shoehorning into that, but that's fine.
No, so this is the biggest thing with a lot of these questions. You can always argue these offshoots, I need a new Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. But the problem is I come from a financial background, and most of the things that I pitch are something that would make money. And so when we're looking about creating
okay.
You think the other ones won't make the money?
I would argue that the one that would make the most money is usually what's popular. Now, you can definitely screw that up, as we see time and time again with people recreating things that are popular. But if we're looking to develop a relevant Sith-based storyline in a video game, you're gonna have to stick with recent events. You're gonna have to stick with things that are just developing now. You can go back and try to explain something that occurred, in our case, 40 years ago when the movie first released, but you're not going to be able to capture the audience and create a true immersive game without taking what's currently going on into account. So that's my argument for why you would need to do and follow the current events of the Sith realm.
Okay, pause then. Because your argument is strong, but I think you're actually kind of low-key inflating Rachel's argument right now, because nothing is more current than Vader. Well,
I mean, he's extra dead.
He's extra dead,
but he's iconic in this movie.
But then this thing happened called the ending of Rogue One.
Try to get,
and it was like,
try to pitch to a 16-year-old right now. So 16.
Okay.
Imagine what movies they've seen, and this is just for you, and then I'll let you take off. Pitch to me a 16-year-old playing your game. Why would I want to play a movie that I didn't see him relevant in for years? I was not even a dream in my parents' eye.
The movies aren't that old, but I honestly think it would be a lot better than... Your idea is a really good idea, but I honestly think this idea that I have is really good because you'd be able to see a different point of view, and you'd be able to... Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the word.
Spike!
You'd feel his struggles.
Yes, thank you. You'd be able
Is that a
to...
lifeline? Do we allow lifelines here?
I will ask though.
Ask the Spike
Dad,
aliens.
I'm on video game fights, and I need to know.
I know the answer to the question, but I'm gonna win $1 million. Like,
Yes.
But you would be able to actually feel a different kind of struggle. It wouldn't be like what you would expect it to be.
Time. We're good. I didn't hear anything that deflated the Anakin Skywalker argument. Ray, hands down. Ray. Which means we have to go to a tiebreaker question because we got 1 point a pop for Ray and Derek. So that's all good. At which point I am just going to use one of my speed round questions. Okay? Rich, you're out of this one, and this will determine who goes to the speed round, so that's all well and good. That being said, they haven't seen the answer to this question. We're into kind of an unforeseen realm here as far as that's concerned. What is a good one for the both of you? Okay. Here's a good one. To Ray and Derek. And this will be structured like a speed round question. So hold your answer. I'm going to ring the bell, and then you are going to pick. I'm going to give you 2 alternatives. You're going to shout out which one you pick. First person to shout out, provided it is after the bell, will argue first. Okay?
Roger.
Got it.
I will give you, in this case, considering these don't happen too often, I'll give you 30 seconds to argue your points. Okay? And then we'll go through a normal argumentation round. Rich, hang out.
I'm chilling.
So here's your question. We're going to create a first-person shooter. In the style of Battlefront, kind of,
God,
but
his pants are on fire.
Very limited.
Sorry.
To which I ask you, we've seen both, and we've seen games that do both, but if we had to limit it to one, which is the better environment for a first-person shooter video game to be taking place? The prequel trilogy, episodes 1, 2, 3 with the Clone Wars, etc., or the original trilogy with the Battle of Yavin, Stormtroopers, etc.?
Prequel.
Original trilogy for Derek?
Yeah.
Rachel, you have 30 seconds. Give me your argument.
The prequel only because I absolutely love those movies to death. I grew up watching those because my family are complete Star Wars nerds, and I am terrible at on-the-fly things.
I know.
I honestly think they could... This is pretty much making them into a game, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I honestly think they could easily smash 1 through 3
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, 1 through 3 into a complete game, so where it's not so diverse and everything, but it sticks with the storyline.
Stein. Not bad. Derek.
Yo.
Original trilogy. Why is the original trilogy better to make a shooter out of?
Easy, because you're killing people you care about. And that's hard. You're in a world where you're not killing clones, you're not killing people that don't matter, you're killing soldiers in a war that truly does matter for the rest of what we're watching now with the new releases of the movie. So in order to create a shooter that truly spoke to the person, you need somebody that matters, not just blasting droids and clones, and you're basically a top-down version at that point. It's not first person.
Okay, excellent. Very good arguments for the tiebreaker. I'm going to give that one to Derek. Solid. Ray, you fought valiantly against two hyper-turbo nerds on the Vector, and you, your consolation prize, the silver lining, if you will, is you get to be a deciding factor in who wins the subsequent questions.
All right.
You did fantastic.
So, yeah, you did. Jesus, I don't want to mean this in a derogatory way, but you held your own way better than you would, because even I would not envy your position of being against these two dudes. So
I tried my
good
best.
job, way to represent the general population very well against just this. That being said, we go to our speed round questions, as you which everybody is well familiar with. I don't need to tell you two, but just for the audience, in case you're watching for the first time, 20-second arguments. 20-second arguments. 20-second arguments followed up by a 10-second rebuttal. We're talking real quick here, okay?
Bada bang, bada bang.
So, same as before, I'm going to ring the bell. Do not answer before the bell, otherwise your opponent will get the answer and the first question. We go to speed question number 1. So...
Oh, important. So speed round's first to 5.
First to 5. So
First to
he's
five.
got 3, I got 2.
You got 2. Well, I guess, does that tiebreaker
I'm giving him
count as
2.
one? Okay, cool.
I'm giving him
I
2.
think that's fair.
So we got D.
Sure you do.
We got
Of course I do.
3 to Rich. So Derek's in the slight behind, but you know what? He does well there. Anyway.
Wait.
1 for Garrett. That was good.
Yep, that was a point for Garrett. Mark it down a point for Garrett. All right, good. 1 point for Garrett.
And the winner is me.
And the winner's me! For that sick burn. For that Anakin Skywalker level burn.
Oh.
I'm good.
He fell in lava. So, we see an entire, for some reason, we see an entire game. An entire game.
The whole game? Not like half a disc?
No, like an entire game start to finish focused around one of these two episode 1 characters. Which one is going to make for a better experience?
Oh, Jesus.
Watto, as you know, the used car salesman Tigerian from there we go. From the pod racer shop, or the man, the myth, the legend, Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks.
Ooh.
Is that the guy who's got the nose and it's like...
Yeah.
I'm right there! I'm a stereotypical Italian! I'm the Italian man!
Yeah, that was the really racist.
cheaper than that.
He's blue and it has like a little
You knew he would win. You knew.
So, both of you have to pitch for me why this game could even exist in a very racially charged 2017. So, Rich, to you, Jar Jar in 3, 2, 1, go.
There is a surprising amount of depth to the character of Jar Jar Binks. George Lucas originally had this whole plan where Jar Jar would be revealed as a formidable foe, and that he was just kind of playing the fool in a very Shakespearean way, and it never got realized because so many people bitched about Jar Jar Binks that he could never do it. I want to see that story unfold in a video game. Solo Jar Jar Binks game.
Excellent. Only 20 seconds. Reset. We go to Derek. Why this game? Why do we need this? Go!
Imagine him, how he got there. That's got to be a huge story. Now, he runs this entire realm of pod racing. Pod racing, Rich admitted, was a fantastic game. So, if you took the guy behind the world of pod racing and created this like mafia-style underrealm, he would make a fantastic main character in a game.
Really solid arguments. Rich, you got a 10-second rebuttal. Why is that bullshit?
Watto was not at all the man behind the pod racing. He just owned a few slaves and a few pod racers, and he went into it with what he had, and he was sleazy. Nobody even really liked him with that realm. Jabba the Hutt was the one behind the pod racing, and it would be uninteresting to say the
You
least.
shut up.
You shut your mouth.
Great job, Rich. Good job, buddy. 10 seconds. Go.
None of the things you mentioned were ever confirmed. Lucas brought that shit up later in order to make up for a very extremely racist black character. That's it. I don't need anything else after that.
Okay, solid. I go to the peanut gallery. On this one.
Peanuts. Get your peanuts.
Spike!
Get your peanuts.
Speak up.
Yeah.
How you feeling about these? Do we like the Watto game? Do we like the Jar Jar game?
I don't like either.
You don't like either.
Neither do we.
Jar Jar Binks is his least favorite character out of all of them, but then I agree that
I want to kill him.
I'm asking you last,
I want to kill him.
I'm gonna get to it.
I was texting Holly the whole time, so I don't even know what the question was.
Then we go to Ray. Ray, the most important question or opinion, second only to the judge. But you know,
honestly, he is right. He didn't run the pod racing at all. It was Java.
How do you know?
Because he bit off the head of whatever creature that was next to him, and he spit it at the buzzer to make the race go.
Java was in
He was the one who started the race. He owns it.
How do you know that's just not a thing, so he doesn't get killed?
Your arms are going to help you this time, Derek.
And honestly, if that was true for Jar Jar, I have no idea about that. If that was true.
well cooked theory online that is substantially backed.
Okay,
that being said,
so it's hypothetical then.
Well, it's confirmed by George Lucas as of the last D23.
Okay,
Which
well
was
then
him
honestly,
just going like,
if they
yeah, that's a
went
good
with that,
excuse. So
if they
for
went
the
with
racist
that
character.
with the actual movies, that would have turned how the story.
we're talking about a
went.
game.
But I know.
I don't want to hear about it in
But
terms of
even
movies.
the games, that would be a pretty cool game. Not
Okay.
gonna lie.
So you're vouching for Rich
I'm
here.
going for Rich.
Okay, gotcha. And
as
Corey
much as I hate
Corey
this-
just wants to Troy just wants to kill Jar Jar.
I know he hates Jar Jar.
Hold on. Okay, as much as I hate
Based
to
on
say
the
it,
arguments, yeah.
based on argument fact, I have to go for Rich because if that's true, sure, Jar Jar Binks was like the biggest pain in the ass.
But there's
if,
maybe a video game that can redeem him.
but if that's possible that they actually tried to make him kind of be a bit of a badass, I can go with that. I can live with that. So I
Where
have
it's
to
just
go
like
with
a
that.
facade,
Point-
it'd be amazing.
Point him up, but picture this. You messed me with the last of time, Annie.
Oh, after that, Derek wins. Hands down.
Yeah. Like you can't. What is he gonna do? Be like, you should never season my final form, and then just be like, oh, you're gone. Like,
Yeah,
that's
because
what
there is the theory that he's not even a real Gungan, you know? Like, we can go into that another day, but based
Yeah,
on the
that's fair.
arguments...
Yeah.
Based on the arguments,
yeah.
I'm actually going to go against popular opinion and give it to Derek. And here's
Alright.
here's why. Here's why.
It's because that follow up with the
Oh.
impression.
Rich.
Italian man.
Rich described a theory, Derek described a game system. Like an actual, like Derek described a game, whereas Rich described a story arc.
I did talk to the
So
points.
that being said, I am going to give it to Derek for that perspective that he described a game, like a system with which to take place. You start little, you get big, all this sort of stuff.
Also, my accent for him is
Yeah, right.
entirely based
that
on,
didn't really take it into account.
Entirely based on Mark Bonanno from Antigona. Is I'm an Italian boy. Yes.
Time. We're moving on to speed round 2. Tied up 3-3. We need 2 more answers from somebody to get this thing going. That being said, here we go. Dogfighting games. Dogfighting games have had a rich prevalence in the far past of the Star Wars canon and whatnot. And this one's going to be splitting hairs a little bit. So,
Is it in VR?
assuming in this case that either could be or could not be in VR.
Okay.
I don't want to hear VR or my game exists in VR, whereas his doesn't as an argument. It's null and void. You shouldn't even be trying to make that in 20 seconds.
Okay, copy.
I just need to know. The 2 profilific figures in the old Star Wars like dogfighting universe are X-Wing and TIE Fighter.
Yes.
And then X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, which doesn't really exist in this question.
And Rogue
here.
Squadron.
And Rogue Squadron and all this sort of stuff. So I need to know, we're getting a remake from the perspective of the X-Wing pilots or the TIE Fighter pilots. Which one gets the remake?
The TIE Fighter pilots.
X-Wing.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
And Rich,
That worked out.
TIE Fighter pilots, go.
As you know, most of the Star Wars canon revolves around the Rebels, but it's so interesting that we would see the point of view from the Imperials on these scummy Rebels that are messing up their pure system here. We already have 3 Rogue Squadron games, we already have an X-Wing game, we already have so many things focused on it. Let's go to the TIE Fighters' point of view, because I really want to custom the shit out of some TIE Fighters.
Solid. Excellent argument. We go to Derek, 20 seconds.
Haven't you always wondered where Porkins comes from? We honestly need an origin story to the point where if you're going to create a good game and a good remake on like following a flight path or a pilot simulator game, you need to be able to have some backstory. If you're just having these like clones walk around and be like, oh, I'm going to customize my TIE Fighter, I put a little extra black on the wing. I mean, you don't really have a ton of options when you move into that realm.
Thank you.
Man.
Okay, 10-second rebuttal for Rich. Go!
As Finn from The Force Awakens and the characters from the new upcoming Battlefront 2 will tell you, there are more to these Imperials than just, like, the clones. In fact, they're not even clones anymore by the point in my game, because I would do it post-Episode 6.
Time! 10 seconds is really 10 seconds. Go.
Red 5 standing by. It really has to be, you need to create a realm. You get that Rogue One feel out of a TIE Fighter game where you get to learn the characters. Or, I'm sorry, X-Wing game.
Time. Okay.
Had a stroke.
Yeah, right. Okay. I don't need the peanut gallery on this one as much. Oh, it's the dog.
Oh,
that being said, I want to hear what Ray has to say.
Honestly, we're talking about games, correct?
Correct, yeah. Do you want to see
Okay.
from the Empire? Do you want to see if it's focused around piloting starships and killing shit in space? Like, do you want to see something from the Empire perspective or from the Rebel perspective?
Empire.
Why, though? And why does that tie into the arguments?
I pick Empire just because, honestly, like, any type of Star Wars game, I've always gone Empire. I've always done it. I've tried going Republic and with the good guys, and it just doesn't seem as fun and as detailed.
Okay, I'm inclined to agree with you, whatever. Rich brought up pretty much the undominable point, which is the idea that Rebels have been done to death in the Star Wars universe. That is something I hadn't considered. Point to Rich. Good job.
I thought he was going to say which one would be better to fly, and I was absolutely going to say...
Oh, X-Wings are undoubtedly more fun to fly.
No! Thank you very much. As far as the mechanics go in the Star Wars realm, TIE Fighters are the only ones that would actually operate in space.
That's fair. That's fair.
Sorry, that was a good... I had a question for another time.
Yeah, right. Oh man, we can have a hard science episode where I get to tear into you guys about like astrophysics.
Dude, I'd be down.
And I will watch that.
Yeah, right. And I would be like, actually, no. Ionic engines, as their current extrapolation, would need a power plant of at least this weight to ray ratio. Like just this sort of.
You know, the science of Star Wars, where we talk about stuff, can be its own video. Just like
I know, right? That being said, it's pretty garbage because there's no science in Star Wars.
Exactly.
It's all.
That's why it'd be so fun to talk about.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's no science.
The different theories behind everything.
Okay, good. 4 points to Rich, 3 points to Derek. We move on to question 4. Oh, sorry. Question 3. Question 4 was okay. Anyway, I'm up 1. Then we go to think of an action platformer, a la sort of like Uncharted and similar, set in the Star Wars universe. You are a Force user of the light side variety, and you fought your way to the final boss. Who would make a more interesting final boss? Grievous or Dooku?
Grievous.
Dooku.
Grievous. You were fast on the... you've been fast on the questions today.
I have no strong opinion either way on this.
Solid. They're both pretty compelling options. They're also like completely different in terms of fighting styles, so I was interested to see what you guys have to go. Anyway, we got 30 seconds for Grievous. Sorry, 20 seconds for Grievous. Go.
Grievous is this really cool alien cyborg creature that can wield up to 4 lightsabers at the same time, and supposedly he killed a lot of Jedis to get those, and we didn't really see how he did it. I would love to see him as a boss, and to see him kind of rip Jedis apart and then have to fight him, and he got torn apart by Obi-Wan pretty quickly. I want to see him as this intimidating foe where he's actually doing something really real, and it's scary. Please bring it on.
Please!
Please!
Derek, 20 seconds for Dooku. Go.
Dooku got cut down in the movies way too early. They had already indicated that he was going to last much longer, but due to some contract differences, they cut him off early. Dooku, as far as fighting style goes, he's the one that uses the Force side of the two. He's the one that can create those interesting dynamics during the fight. Like, if you're also a Force user, how are you just not going to be like, if you're the all-powerful guy that managed to get the final boss?
10 seconds to Rich. Go.
How many video games have we played where the final boss is this all-powerful Force-using Sith Lord? I want to see somebody who has to use other strategies to defeat you besides just using Force Lightning and Force Pushes. It'll be interesting.
Time. Derek, 10 seconds.
If you've played him in the Star Wars Battlefront game, all he does is go with his lightsabers. He's very basic. I think he would be a terrible final boss.
I think I know my answer. What do you think, Ray?
I know my answer. I'm going to go with him.
You're going to go with him?
Yeah.
Why?
Only because I think there's a lot more options to Force user bosses than just a robot that has lightsabers.
He's not a robot, he's a cyborg alien.
He's a cyborg alien!
Okay, he might have a human heart,
He's not a human heart, it's a... Oh, shit, what is he?
Oh, man, I forget the race. Please comment in the comments.
The fact that he actually has a heart.
Yeah. That being said, I agree. Derek brought up the idea that Dooku has more variety and all that sort of stuff. So that's...
I will say Grievous is way cooler.
Grievous has the potential to be very scary, but I don't know. I really find it fine to... you brought up an excellent point I hadn't considered, because in my mind, I I'd be answering Grievous for this question.
Yeah, he's.
But you brought up the point that just like as far as just sheer variety of things that can happen, Dooku does produce more maladies.
He's objectively cooler, but Dooku provides you that ability to create a good final boss.
Okay, that's excellent. So I'm going to give it to you for that reason.
And to kind of throw in there, sorry, really quick. The fact that in the movies they did kill him off, he was honestly one of my favorite bad guys for a while, just because he seemed really cool.
Oh, he's dope.
And the fact that they cut him out, I was like, what? Seriously, that can't be. That's not fair.
Well, yeah, die eventually.
One of the big.
Well, yeah, but
sins
still.
They all die.
Also, he was Christopher Lee.
So
Lee is dope.
I have to ask you guys for the next question. Do you want the what the fuck one, or do you want the serious one?
What the fuck one, because that's where I thrive.
Okay.
I want the serious one, so
Flip a coin. Yes. Flip a fidget spinner. Let's see.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Or you guys can pick a number between 1 and 10, and I'll.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Pick a number. You ready?
I've got it in my head.
Go ahead.
Actually,
Go, Rich. Guess your number.
10?
Oh. Dude.
Between 1 and 10.
9?
You're closest.
Yeah. Rich, why would you do that?
Alright, whatever.
that's not how you play that game.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
I'm
Okay.
down
You
to
know
the
what?
zero.
We're
Wait, hey.
Question.
We're gonna go with this question that I wrote down, which is kind of neither.
Do you want to read them both and let the peanut gallery pick?
No.
No.
Alright.
I will tell you what. I will tell you what
the.
the other question was at the end of the time, though. So this is the question I'm going with. So you guys talked about a lot of the arcade releases during the main body of the fight here. We talked about the pod racers. We talked briefly about kind of the history of like the old kind of X-wing perspective arcade games. And Rich's answer. So Star Wars is going to get another arcade game, another one that you see posted up in the Dave & Buster's and the Chuck E. Cheese's of the world and whatnot, using newer modern techniques. What are we going to see? A reaction-based lightsaber game similar to like DDR or any one of those like drum reaction games where you're or Fruit Ninja being an excellent example where you're actively acting kind of with the lightsaber, or are we going to see a Chrono Trigger style like Stormtrooper shooter? 3, 2, 1. What
Lightsaber!
Oh no!
Do you want the Chrono Trigger?
No. Sorry, we're talking Star Wars, it has to be lightsaber.
Okay, has to be lightsaber, which Derek, you're talking to me about the Chrono Trigger shooters.
I've never played Chrono Trigger.
Totally. The House of the Dead. The ones where you're holding the gun and shooting that whole thing, and it's on
I think
rails.
you're thinking of Time Crisis, because Chrono Trigger's an RPG.
That's right,
Yeah,
I messed that up. Yeah, okay, so Time Crisis.
Oh, hell yeah, I got that in the bag then.
Okay,
alright.
That is my apology.
Yeah, that's way different, because
Yeah.
Time Crisis is my
Okay,
is my
Time
jam.
Crisis from the perspective of a non-Force user.
Okay.
And then your game that you've got to pitch. It's a little bit of a complex one, so you're going to have to get your answers out quick. 20 seconds, go.
Oh geez, what do we all want to do when we're little kids? We want to play with lightsabers, and the Wii let us down by not really having that as good as it could, and Kinect didn't do much of a good job either. If we could have an actual reactionary lightsaber game that made you feel like you're actually wielding a lightsaber, that trumps anything else for me in my mind, and I know so many people would love to get their hands on a lightsaber and feel like they're actually fighting with one.
Nice.
Wow, that was like
exactly
20 seconds on the dot. Jeez, you're good. All right, 20 seconds to you, Derek. Chrono Trigger, not Chrono Trigger. It's Time Crisis.
Time Crisis.
3, 2, 1, go.
Following on the same path as Rich, is growing up, I had no lightsabers. I was totally blasters. When you go to play a game, both in an arcade game at home, the thing that is most viable is a game that allows you to point and shoot at a TV. You can literally adapt the old, the Bird Dog game, I forget, and also in an arcade. Fuck. Oh, I screwed it up.
Time.
Oh, no. No, Rich. No.
What you were thinking was Duck Hunt.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
a
you.
game.
If I would have got that out, it would have been a better argument.
Okay, gotcha. Then we go back to Rich for your 10-second rebuttal. Why lightsabers?
The first-person shooter Star Wars Original Trilogy game already exists. We already have a shooter arcade Star Wars game. We don't have a reactionary lightsaber game. It should be made on just the basis that it doesn't exist yet, and it would be dope.
Time. Compelling. 10 seconds to Derek. Why the shooters, not the lightsabers? Go.
There's a reason the lightsaber doesn't exist yet, is we haven't reached the technology that allows you to accurately represent that game. You can definitely create a shooter at any time, at any place, and just create a better one based on as technology gets better.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's hear some reactions, and this is for the win. This is for the win. So I want I definitely want Ray to win in on this. I definitely want Ray to weigh in on this. Ray to weigh in on this. English.
Tongue twister, huh?
Yeah, it's tough.
All right. It's kind of a hard decision just because
you tell me.
I would go with
I have to
either
name one
one.
of my friends winners.
But at the same time, like, I have to agree with about the whole lightsabers not really being a thing right now, and they are having a difficult time making it more accurate. But I think as time goes on and as things progress, they could eventually do it. But at the same time, there are so many shooter games. There's so many point and shoot. Why keep sticking with the same trend when you can try and make something different and better, and you never know. You could hit it off pretty damn good.
Fair enough. Alright, compelling. So that's all well and good. I think I gotta give this one to Rich, though.
That's
really
right.
compelling with the originality. So Rich wins Star Wars!
And your winner!
Wins. Outro.
I love you.
Good work.
So, we're about ready to run out of space on the card, so we're going to do our outros real quick. I'm Garrett Allen. Find me on the Complaint Department, twitch.tv/complaint department. We stream all the time. Really neat shit. You'll love it. Go see us there.
This is my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Do it right now. The button's right below this video.
Whoa!
Quick, link in the description, and I'm the same as him. We're out of space.
Thank you for watching Video Game Fights. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this episode, and watch this video because it's really sweet.